guys, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the Gemini new moon that is going to be conjunct with Venus at the time of the new moon. Now, I have a kind of a neat idea. Considering the fact that this is a very dualistic energy, I think I'm going to do a dualistic spread. So for some of you, may relate more to one spread than another. But I definitely believe that it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to make this in a timely fashion. But I'm going to do I'm just going to shuffle this real quick. I'm going to pick the indicator card. I did a lot of shuffling kind of off screen, so let's try to find the two indicator cards for these spreads. So this one, of course, speaks to me. Well, I think I'm going to go with these two because they stuck out to me. But this stuff is interesting too. Okay. Let's do this. So I will reveal those to you at the same time I see them, so that we can see them together. Man, this dualistic energy, not the biggest fan of, I'm going to be honest. Okay, so we have these two cards. I'm going to lay those right here for now. This is the new moon that we're going to be having in Gemini. It's going to be conjunct with Venus. We are going to have a mutable grand cross that the new moon is involved in. And then we are also going to have a Grand Earth Trine at the same time. So let's talk a little bit about the energies at play. So what is a mutable grand cross? I've been talking a lot about it. A mutable grand cross is energy that pulls us in extremes in 4 different areas of our lives. Each one of them is square and they oppose each other as well. So it's a very difficult energy. It pulls you in these extremes so that you can have some sort of, you can develop after you have been pulled in these extremes, some sort of consistency in what you want to invest in moving forward. So sometimes we have to be pulled in 4 different directions for us to understand, oh my gosh, the Earth Trine's energy is here. This is what I now feel that I need to invest in. I now know what it takes to stabilize my thoughts or my life and add some consistency and longevity to my life. But sometimes we have to be pulled in an extreme. The new moon is going to pull you in that extreme. There's going to be a dualistic nature about this new moon. It has to do with what you desire, and it has to do with what's going to emotionally motivate you, or what's going to emotionally compel you, I think is more the word. This new moon is going to be opposing Saturn. It's opposing Saturn because I believe that Saturn is still in retrograde. It's in the past. I believe that for us to have this new, optimistic, hopeful mindset that seems rational and logical to move toward, we have to consider either moving away from the past, adventuring forward, opening up our minds to the new concept of this brand new beginning. And in order to do that, sometimes we have to have an opposition. And for some of us, we have to be pulled in 4 different directions for it to define what we deeply desire at this point. I also think that what's very significant about this energy is, first of all, just the dualistic nature of the Gemini energy. It is in the sign of the twins. And when we have a new moon in Gemini energy, it can go one of 2 different drastic ways. It's a very drastic energy whenever I think of Gemini energy. Also, there are 2 definite energies at play during this dualistic new moon. We have this Grand Earth Trine in one energy, and the second energy, we have this mutable grand cross. And so to me, that suggests tremendous opposition, or on the flip, the other dualistic part of this energy could be just a very grounding energy, a very grounded mindset, a very grounded approach to taking a look at this. I think either way it puts things into perspective. I think either way this energy is going to definitely define the direction that we don't want to go in. The new moon, I think, and this energy is going to pull you away from something that definitely no longer serves you. That's resistance. That doesn't feel good anymore. You're going to be motivated to create a new beginning moving forward. And I believe that what you're going to be deeply compelled to understand is just how much, how important that it is to create a new beginning with some sort of grounded approach, because obviously that's something that's amazing. Now, another energy to consider that's going on at the same time is very unfortunate, but Pluto is going to be quincunxing the new moon. A quincunx is a very difficult conversation. I know that astrologically it's a new concept. Not a lot of people consider quincunxes to be a valid energy. I disagree. I feel them energetically much harsher than I feel any energy out there. It's a cardinal energy, and it wants to transform and add structure. And this new moon is going to drive Pluto crazy. Pluto right now is in retrograde, so there is a past mindset that is deeply going to impact the way that you move forward. And Gemini energy is all about optimistic. Don't look at the past. Just keep on. Everything is cool. Like, you can just make a new beginning. Like, it's just super optimistic, super hopeful. Like, it just feels like it can do anything. It's very adaptable. It's inquisitive. It's just, it's just an energy that really likes to look at the good side of life if it's in its sweet twin anyway. But in this energy, Pluto's pulling it back to the past. There's something you need to consider. I think that this is to detoxify you in some way. There is a toxic element to some of your mindsets that I believe that really honestly resist this change that you need to make. I believe for some of you, there is structure that you need to create in your life. There is some areas that you need discipline. I believe you're resisting that for some of you. I believe that for some of you, there is a sense of desperation, to get away from this. There's an extreme. It's almost like you want to get away from it so much you want to avoid the mindset. So what's important about this aspect is that this new moon is squaring off with Neptune and squaring off with Jupiter and opposing Saturn. So this new moon, whatever you're not being dutiful and responsible, wherever you're not paying attention to the details, Jupiter's going to expand that issue, and it's going to blow it up, and it's going to make this Gemini new moon face wherever it is that the details have not been attended to. In the flip side, wherever you're not being realistic, wherever you're being too dreamy, wherever you're being, not rational and logical, that could blow up in your face as well in this new moon, this opposition. And then Pluto, this is going to hurt. This is something to do with fear, or something to do where you resist on a deeper level. So this has the ability to be one eventful new moon. I mean, so you're asking me, I think what I would be asking me if I were you guys is, I think what's important about this new moon is the fact that we've got to focus on the fact it's still a new beginning. And even though there's so much energy that's pulling us into the past and considering, these areas, it's still a hopeful mindset. We still can make this go in a different direction. I think for many of you, this is going to be such a compelling opposition. It's going to propel you forward like a rocket. Like, you are going to want to get away from this situation because it's extreme. It's out of control. It's no longer reasonable and rational to stay in this mutable grand cross. You need to move forward. You need to adapt. There's an area that needs to change. If some of you have been fixed and regimented, and if some of you have been caught in excessive pleasure seeking to escape the reality of your situation, there is going to be a moment in this 30-day cycle where you're going to be compelled to move away from this drastic situation, I think. I believe that this has a lot to do with empowering yourself. And in order to do that, you're going to have to face some of your strongest weaknesses. But I believe as soon as you face those weaknesses in this 30 cycle, I believe that that's the new beginning as well. I believe that it's like a flower. We really start to open ourselves up to this new sense of self, this new beginning. When I say that we're splitting down the middle and that we're creating an old sense of self and a new sense of self, that's twin energy. You know, that is, we're splitting in two right now. We're splitting into dualistic mindsets. We're becoming adaptable. We're not fixating anymore. Hopefully, that's what this energy has been doing. For some of you, it's been a difficult process. You've been caught in this mutable grand cross, and it's literally splitting you mentally in two. This is a difficult new moon because what it's trying to do is to get you to understand what you desire on a very pleasurable, simplistic level. For some of you, there's not enough happiness in your life. There's not enough pleasurable moments. There's not enough energy that is lightening up your life. You need to lighten the load. Is the message I got when I said that. I don't know why. So let's take a look at the two cards that we're going to be dealing with. This is our twins. So we're going to do a twin reading. Okay. So we have very big cards during this reading. We have the Emperor, and the Emperor's in reverse. I think the Emperor to me always represents self. It's also the Aries card. And I believe that for some of us, this is a time where self is splitting. If you're looking at just the twins, this is going to represent the twin energy in the reading. So we have a very masculine energy represented, and we have a very feminine energy represented here. So the feminine energy is in the upright position and the masculine energy is in the reverse position. So I believe that the feminine energy to me represents balance. It represents the pros and cons. It's a very elevated energy. The masculine energy is very rigid and stuck in a belief system and is resistant to considering these two perspectives. And so it's of course in reverse because it's resisting. It's probably I would say that where I'm gonna set this up as is this is going to be the energy that represents probably the mutable grand cross, and this one is probably going to be more of the energy that represents our Grand Earth Trine energy. So let's go ahead and set this up. I might have to move my camera because it looks like it's a little blurry. Oh no, it's going into... Okay. Ooh, and I was definitely right about which one was representing what. Let's take a look. I like to add our, takes a while to set this up. I'll cut some of this out, I think, for you. Okay. I think I should make two outcomes, and this one should be that outcome. Okay, let's see if I can get this all in the shot. I can. Okay. So to me, this represents the mutable grand cross, and this one represents the Earth Trine moving forward. And because we have dualistic energy at the time of this twins. Now, I know that this is going to be a super crazy reading, but you will see that I will try to make sense for you. I will try to make it rational and logical for all of you people that are being compelled to understand Gemini energy. So I said that this energy to me felt very masculine. This one felt very feminine. The reason why I say masculine and feminine, masculine energy to me represents the need to control our lives, the need to fight for what we believe in. It's the need to, it's that warrior that's inside of us. And then of course the feminine energy is all about nurturing and settling down and creating a home and creating a structure that we can have some foundation on. So I definitely believe that's represented here. So this is the 30-day cycle. This is, of course, the outcome. This is the energy that led up to this new moon. And then this is, of course, the energy that we're going to have moving forward. I will lay out some advice cards at the very end. I definitely believe, definitely am being compelled to do so just because we have so much going on. So let's talk about the spread as the energy goes. So this is our 30-day cycle. This is the new moon right here. And the new moon, to me, we have the Queen of Swords, we have the Emperor, we have the Magician, we have the Chariot, Justice, and the Queen of Pentacles. So we have very significant cards, very significant. In this, we're going to talk about the mutable Grand Cross's energy, the 30-day cycle for that mutable Grand Cross, which is going to be deeply in play throughout the month of June. I believe that some of us are resisting the logical and rational perspective. We don't want to face something. And the facts are supporting what we need to do, but we don't want to face it. We don't want to move forward. This is, of course, also the air. It represents air's energy. And so there's something that you're resisting. There's something, the knowledge is there in front of you, but I think that you're turning a blind eye to it because I think that you're rigid. You're standing firm in something. You're looking at what you have in your hand. You're not considering all the facts when I see this card in reverse. It definitely has to do with the past. She's looking back at the past. She's just turning her back to what I believe she needs to face because she's resisting it. And then we have the Emperor, and he's in reverse, and he's standing firm and rigid, and he refuses to see this new perspective, to acknowledge it, to validate it, to know that that's what is necessary. So we've got this grand mutable cross, and it's pulling us in 4 different directions, but we're holding firm and fast. We don't want to let go of something. That would be the new moon. That would be that Gemini spirit. That would be like, I don't want to let go of it. But the 30-day cycle is going to help you do that, because as we move forward through that 30-day cycle with this mutable Grand Cross, what comes out of it, I think, is an epiphany. What comes out of it, of that grand mutable cross, out of those extremes, is that there is a very, very large awakening for some of you. It will consider all aspects of life. It will consider all elements of your life, what you're passionate about, what emotionally motivates you, what you emotionally desire, and then, of course, what grounds you, and what's logical and rational. And out of all of that comes the epiphany, comes the next layer in life. And it is a beautiful energy. If you're caught in the mutable Grand Cross, that Magician card moving forward is such a lovely card, and such a blessing to come out of the mutable Grand Cross. So don't you worry that you're caught in that. See what's blocking you, honey. in the Mutable Grand Cross is this card. And this card's a difficult card. It depicts exactly the way that I feel that some of you have been burdened by. Some of you have been burdened by a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of awareness. There's a lot of reality. It's very overwhelming, and you're feeling somewhat compelled to just give up. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of pain. You know what's so funny is when I look back on life and I remember that when I was younger, I remember that I was just so innocent, and I long for those days where I didn't have so much knowledge. I didn't have the reality of what life is really about, the pain, the burden, the consequence, of that. So some of you in this reflective state of looking back toward the past, what you're resisting moving forward is just all the painful revelations of the past. The past is a burden right now for many of you. Look at the outcome card looking forward, but holding on to the past. This one's still holding on to all of this, and there's a lot of there's more past knowledge than there is knowledge about or optimism about moving forward. You're still holding on, some of you significantly, to you feel are powerful lessons learned, and you, even though the knowledge is here, the optimism, the wealth, I always look at the past in this card as very barren. Yeah, you have all this wisdom, but it's just you're holding on to the wrong it's the most barren form of that lesson, whereas if in the future it's so plentiful and plush, and it may not be abundant at first. You have to put some faith in the fact that these seeds, this new beginning that you plant, is going to prevail. And really, honestly, he wants to let go of the past. He wants to put down this significant burden because it's so much lighter and more plentiful. So there is an optimism about moving forward, but I think there's a fear associated with it. Some of you, what's very difficult is that what's been leading up to this new moon, this mutable grand cross, is that it's pulled you in so many different directions. You don't know what decision to make. What is going to give you an emotional payoff? What's going to be something significant in your life? You have something before you, but you don't know if it's going to turn out like it has in the past. There's some significance to that. What I love about this is if you see at the base of this, we have, this person trying to make an emotional decision, trying to make an emotional investment. But if you look directly ahead, if you look at the top of this, the 30-day cycle is going to be beautiful. So you will walk away, you will walk forward. And I believe that you're gonna make a very good decision emotionally. You're going to strengthen. You're going to prevail. It will be a journey that some of you, it's a new sense of self. So I think that for some of you, it can be somewhat of an isolating feeling, like you feel like you're going it alone. But I don't believe so. I think it's a strength building time for you. It's a time where you develop the sense of self. And I always look at this as very dualistic as well. It's the sun and the moon. In the same. So what is going to emotionally fulfill you is going to be something that you deeply desire. It's what's going to compel you to move away from this particular point in your life. The change that you are going to be making in your life is, I think, it's going to be towards something a little bit more emotionally fulfilling than you have in the past. I think in the past, with this mutable grand cross energy, is that it was such a burden. Such a burden to be pulled in 4 different directions, such a burden to go to these extremes. It's exhausting, but that is past base. It is pointing toward the past. So let's talk about the spread for the Grand Trine, the other dualistic part of this new moon. It's very beautiful. This reading is much more, I align with this one much more than I align with that one. I don't like that one. That one bums me out a little bit because there's such a struggle to get to the magician's level. Like, you go through a lot of processing before you get to here. Justice is all about balancing. It's all about weighing out the pros and cons. It's about a much more mature perspective. This definitely represents a youthful mind to me. This definitely represents and a mind that has been around, that has had several experiences, that has wisdom. That would be your Grand Earth Trine. There's a lot of energy. Pluto is in the Grand Earth Trine, and so that suggests to me that there's a lot of wisdom. It's Father Time is represented in that Grand Earth Trine. So I love that. In this energy, we have dualism at its finest represented. We have the black and the white, the yin and the yang in this energy. But what I like is that we're going to have, and this is such a great card to be represented here today, because this is Cancer's card. All the energy is going to drop into Cancer. I believe that for many of us, until the energies drop into Cancer, we're going to be kind of consumed by this mutable Grand Cross. When energy starts dropping into Cancer in June, I believe that we're going to be at the helm of our chariot. We're going to be at the helm of who we are. We're going to be driving our life in the direction we want it to go. We are going to have this dualistic mindset. We are going to have an appreciation for what we went through in the mutable Grand Cross. But we are going to have this intuitive perspective, very intuitive perspective on this situation. Moving forward. So because we have this dualistic mindset influence us, we can now consider all perspectives. We're not looking at it from one central focus. And I believe that that's a very powerful card. That right next to Justice represents to me, again, she is holding scales. She is looking at two different perspectives. To me, I love this approach. We cannot look at everything from one rigid mindset. We get stuck when we do that. And then, of course, it leads into the beautiful Queen of Pentacles, one of my most favorite cards. I love her. She's simple. She's peaceful. She is very elevated. She is grounded. She knows what she wants on a very simplistic level. And she feels very rich. And she feels very, I think, at peace in her life, which is what I always strive for. So it's why I always look at how beautifully peaceful this entire line of cards are. It's because it represents consistency and longevity, and it represents a dualistic mindset, but a dualistic mindset when you equally weigh pros and cons, and you have the wisdom to do so. You're not extreme when you're doing this. You're just very elevated to consider both perspectives at all times when making very firm decisions about grounding your energy. In the past, what may have prevented this type of mindset, this type of enlightenment, is that we were always defending one perspective. We were stuck, we were regimented, we refused to consider multiple perspectives. And so we fought for one perspective, and that created a lot of tension in the past. And I believe we're going to try to move away from that. This card was in my, if you watched it, and I'm sorry, I was so mad that day when the mutable Grand Cross got to peak level. I think my life got to peak level. I thought I was going to lose my mind. And this card came up. And I believe that it has everything to do with this new moon. What it says to me is it says that we need to stop judging. We need to stop judging others. We need to stop judging their journeys. They're judging their actions. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to be compassionate. We need to be loving. We need to show them that we are there for them, but we also need to be as equally compassionate and loving, and we need to stop judging ourselves and our actions. We reacted in our past the way that our karmic path was supposed to go, and we need to release ourselves from the guilt and the shame of that karmic path. And we need to relieve others from the guilt and shame that we placed upon them for walking in that path. And as we do so, as we forgive, and as we as we open ourselves up to this elevated mindset, we are enlightened and we know that there was a reason for this difficult time in our lives where we were not enlightened as we should have been. As we move forward, you know, we have this glorious card, and I think that we can take a look at our past with a new perspective. There were joyous times, there were fulfilling times, and there were times of just absolute beauty. And our memories of the past do not always have to go toward a painful event. If we're enlightened, if we're in the Grand Earth Trine, we can look at things in a much more optimistic level, and then in turn our memories of the past do not become so burdened, so heavy, so hard to deal with as they are with this past energy over here. This as we look at the past in this energy, it's just been so freaking difficult. And every time we poured all energy into anything passion, it was so burdensome. But in this energy, we actually relive good events. This energy is very significant moving forward in the 30-day cycle, is because what we want to do is take out areas in our life that we're excessively indulgent. This card, it's so funny, when I see it, it always represents ego and indulgence and being you feel like you have figured it all out, like you're there, you're at that point where you've got to a certain level in your life where you feel like you just got it all. And when I see him, he's at peace. He has a lot of accomplishments. So if he were in this position, that's where he would be. But in this position, I believe that maybe what we were once holding on to, the accomplishment level that we were holding on to, maybe isn't so emotionally fulfilling as we once thought. So maybe we've got to an elevated status, some recognition, some career status in our life where either we want that, or we're taking a look at and we're defining what would make us truly abundant, and that realization could be very simplistic. And so we may have some sort of, maybe confusion with that. But what I also think that it can represent to me in general is that this person probably had a problem with being too ego-oriented, too caught up in recognition, and that defined this person. And I believe this person is now this person, a very well-rounded, a very enlightened person, a simplistic person. They no longer need to hold on to this. The outcome of this deck is in reverse, and it's not about ego. It's not about fighting. It's not about looking at people and knowing that you can beat them and walking away and feeling victorious and feeling smug about it. When this card is in reverse, I don't feel like you won. I feel like you feel like I won, but there was a consequence to where I'm at in my life. And it's a very humbling card. These people are walking away. This person is absolutely devastated at their loss. This person is walking away with their loss. I don't believe that you're feeling too victorious about some of these ways that you've walked away from things in your past. And yeah, sure, you may be here and you may be at a victorious level in your life, but you definitely don't feel proud of how you got here in this energy. And again, I believe that this has everything to do with forgiving and releasing yourself from guilt and just being very compassionate to those on journeys, and being very compassionate to yourself, and looking at the dualistic part of it. Yes, I mean, karma's been a bitch. It's been very difficult, I have to say. The karmic roads that we have been on have been very difficult, but I believe that we're moving away from that. So I'm going to clear this spread out just really quick. Here's, hold on. I'm just trying to make some room because I do want to lay out some advice cards for this very dualistic new moon. Okay, so let's lay out the advice cards for both of these spreads. Oh, yes. Okay. So this was the mutable grand crosses energy. Here, let me pull these over. Sorry about that. I didn't know you couldn't see them. This is very good. This is very much better. Okay. So this was the spread for, this was the advice cards for the mutable grand cross. And this is the advice cards that we have moving forward for with the other dualistic energy, which was the Grand Earth Trine. The mutable grand crosses energy is going to at some point leave you much more emotionally abundant and fulfilled. You will not feel as extreme moving forward if you consider the fact that what you need to invest in is some sort of emotional abundance, some sort of emotional fulfillment. I also believe that when you have the Knight of Pentacles here, I believe that you are going to be respectful of the earthbound energy as well. So we have all this mutable energy. You're going to make some very powerful adjustments in your life that I believe is going to bring you some emotional fulfillment. You're going to adjust and be adaptable, and that's beautiful in this energy. I really love that what you're very strong about, what you're very determined to actually invest in is some earthbound energy, stabilize, consistency, longevity. It's definitely going to be something that's going to come out of all of this adaptable energy. You're going to adapt to a stable mindset. And I believe what you're going to move away from is this feeling that you have to please everybody. You have to sell, you have to perform, you have to show people what you're made of. Like, you have to be the salesman in your life. I believe that you're not going to care to do that, because what you're investing in is a much more simplistic level. You're looking at things. I believe that that some of you are going to be compelled in this energy to be dutiful and responsible and to put the work in so that your work speaks for itself. I believe in this energy. What in the past, work did not speak for itself. It should have, but it didn't. I believe that you're going to feel like it will as you simplify, as you really hone in on what it is that you need to invest in that mutable grand cross. And I believe it is going to be this earth energy. It's going to be something that's going to solidify your foundation and add structure to some of the areas in your life where I think you were just too crazy and adaptable, or for some people, they were just too rigid, and now because of this adaptable energy, they're going to adapt to a new mindset. Here is the advice cards for the Grand Earth Trine. The Hanged Man is in the reverse. So there is a sense of enlightenment that is still going on in your life. This is a Sagittarian energy. This is Saturn is in Sagittarius right now in retrograde. It will be squaring off. I mean, it'll be opposing the new moon. So I think what's going to happen is through the opposition, you're going to, I keep just being drawn to the amount of enlightenment around this figure. This person there's a state of peace that is going to be generated eventually from this Grand Earth Trine. It's going to simplify your thoughts and simplify your mindsets. And I think then eventually it'll, of course, turn it over, and you will just be able to be vulnerable and enlightened in this energy. But I think you're going through the enlightening process. I love that the Grand Earth Trine represents strength. And I believe that it also represents, I think it represents an internal strength, the duality in this, and also a strength for others to trust you implicitly. It will stabilize you. You will become a stable source for people to lean on if you're caught in that Grand Earth Trine. I believe that this King of Cups, I believe that you are going to work very diligently on not making emotional decisions anymore. Part of the instability that lies in a Gemini energy is I believe they just kind of go with whatever they feel strongest about, and just kind of just, throw 3 sheets to the wind and just be like, oh, let's just try it, And that can lead to some emotional instability and some consequence. So I believe that there's an emotional, if you look at the past here, what led up to these 30 days as far as in advice, is if you just work so hard to become so emotionally, and you were working so hard for an emotional investment to pay off. I believe if you look at the next section of advice cards, I believe that the wisdom is the Earth Trine. The wisdom is moving forward and investing and planting that seed in really fertile soil and tending to it. And I believe that it's an internal seed that you're planting. And I believe out of that comes a tremendous amount of growth and strength. And then from that comes just an emotional fulfillment. And then, of course, enlightenment. Anyhow, guys, that is my spread for the new moon. I will be right back to tell you how this is going to affect your sun, your moon, and your rising. Hi, dear Aries. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the new moon that is going to be happening in Gemini, which is going to be conjunct Venus. So I have a dualistic spread. This represents the energy that is from the mutable Grand Cross, and this is the energy that represents the Grand Earth Trine. Got to keep them straight. Because this new moon is a dualistic new moon, of course, we have 2 major energies at play. We have that Grand Earth Trine and we have the mutable Grand Cross. So let's talk about how this is going to impact you. Let's get this all set up. Okay, so Mars is going to be in Scorpio, which is going to be in retrograde at the time of this new moon. And it is going to be trining Chiron, and it is going to be opposing Mercury in Taurus. So this moon is going to change a lot of energy for you. Your ruler is not involved in either one of these. It's not involved in the Grand Earth Trine, and it's not involved in the mutable Grand Cross energy. But you are being impacted by this new moon in the fact that you are in a reflective state at this point, with your ruler being in retrograde. So you are refining and reconsidering your life. You are redirecting your energy. I believe that some of you are feeling a little bit drained from this new moon. You're feeling like maybe a little bit mentally overwhelmed. It's a very intense energy. You're probably going to be intensely, acutely aware of the energy that is transpiring. It may not be in your life. It may be in somewhere in your past. Someone from your past may be brought forward, or a situation in your past may make you recall some very intense moments. But there's definitely, the theme of this is definitely going to change the way that you take a look at your life on a day-to-day basis. What you value is going to be directly in question during this lunar event. There may be a duality about what you value. You may be trying to decide between a need and a want. It's very hard because what we need sometimes is to solidify our foundation. That would be your Grand Earth Trine, right? Which is very beautiful and stable. You gain some strength. You gain some enlightenment when you invest in this new moon. But there could be a want in your life, perhaps a past-based want, that I believe could be compelling you as well. It's that energy is the mutable Grand Cross's energy. It could just pull you in a lot of different directions, cause some confusion. What both of these energies inevitably are going to do for you is to provide you with some clarity about a karmic path that you've been on for a very long time, and that you're becoming very increasingly aware that you would like to move away from it, because I think you've learned everything that you need to learn. You're not being compelled to stay on that karmic journey. However, there's a duality about this new moon, and the new beginning could mean just making a decision to get off that karmic path that no longer serves you, to move forward and move away from the past, because the past is the mutable Grand Cross and the future is this Grand Earth Trine. The Grand Earth Trine is a lovely, stable energy that will gain you some wisdom, some strength. It'll also align what you value and what you want a lot better. And so because your energy is in this opposition, it's not so much in an extreme. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Taurus. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the new moon that is going to be happening in Gemini. Now, your ruler is going to be conjunct the new moon, and it is going to be involved in the mutable Grand Cross's energy. So I have both energies, the dualistic energy, represented today in this card spread. This spread represents the Grand Earth Trine, and this spread represents the mutable Grand Cross's energy. Your ruler is directly impacted by this mutable Grand Cross. So you are thinking a lot about what you need and you want. And whenever you get involved in a conversation about what you need and you want, inevitably what comes up is, what's the emotional payoff of both? What pleases me about my need or my want? Venus is all about giving you what pleases you, what you find pleasurable, aligning you with relationships that make you feel wonderful. I mean, that's what the whole point is. There's a dualistic nature about where Venus is at right now, because it needs and it wants a lot of different things, because it is involved in a grand mutable cross. Your new beginning is going to be really defining what you need and want. And so I think what is very difficult about what you need and want at this time is that it's being torn in 4 different directions. The things you're considering is what you used to idealize about what you needed and you wanted from a partner, or from a relationship, or from, from what you wanted on a daily basis, or what you wanted, what made you excited, like really genuinely excited, what made you fulfilled. And it can be very confusing, because often we idealize those situations. We don't base them on any sense of reality, on any sense of consistency, on any sense of longevity when you have this type of influence in your life. So the new beginning is to create a consistent mindset in dualistic energy. So you've got to be tested. You've got to be pulled in different extremes to be shown what you value. What is very difficult about this particular new moon is that there is a change that's necessary in a mindset regarding the past. So I think that in the past, pleasure really played a big role in what you wanted, and on a very simplistic level. And I believe that the problem is it created so many options. You never seemed to be able to make a really good decision. You were caught up in that energy where you could kind of have whatever you wanted. And now this energy is leading you toward the dualistic side of this, is there's a stable source in your life that you are being asked to consider. And it's very hard, because you're leaving behind this very decadent lifestyle filled with lots and lots of emotional opportunities to invest in one, and that's very difficult for you. I think it's very difficult for you to make a firm decision that is really going to solidify things. Now, of course, in this mutable Grand Cross that I see here, the most beautiful and just magnificent card that jumps out of it is the Magician. I believe that as you go through this time of considering superficially what you want and at a very indulgent level, I think the epiphany that comes out of it is in the past, these mindsets were very repetitive and they always ended up the same. They always ended up with the same result, just with the knowledge of disappointment or there was something that lacked from what you, like I think logically you had thought it through, but there always just seemed to be something that left you feeling like you didn't get what you wanted. Now you're being inspired and compelled to move forward with and to leave behind all of these options, right? And to really start to firmly make a decision on this, some very substantial things that can bring you a lot of bountiful harvest. Like, look at how beautiful and abundant that is. If you continue on this path, this karmic path that you've been in the past, in this mutable grand cross, you're going to walk away with all this stuff, but I don't think it's barren. It's not going to feel as fulfilling as this thing moving forward. So I think there's definitely a lot for you to consider. I think part of it is taking a risk, and really investing in the Earth Trine. Jupiter is, and the North Node is in Virgo energy. Virgo energy is Earth. It is involved in the Grand Mutable Cross, and it's also involved in the Grand Earth Trine. Now, as you can see, the Grand Earth Trine is just beautiful. It has so much lovely energy, and you're so much more powerful in this Grand Earth Trine than you are over here. This to me just represents a lot of inconsistency. I think it's compelling to be here. I'm not going to lie, because with so many options, you could definitely explore and have a lot of fun exploring. But I definitely don't feel like it gives you the strength, and it gives you the enlightenment, and it gives you the balanced perspective, and it grounds you. And you start to think about really good things that could come into your life if you start to concentrate. There's no indulgent. This energy does have its compelling nature as well, but it is going to pull you into extremes. I think the most powerful energy that you need to figure out is Pluto and Capricorn. I think you need to become enlightened, and that's the problem in this, in either one of these spreads, is that, you're awakening in this energy. The lights are turning on. The thoughts are becoming consistent about what you want and what you desire. But you have to be pulled in these extremes. You've got needs and wants here. I think needs and wants are confusing, because needs and wants can make you feel very decadent and just, you need to be pleasured right now. You'll just settle for what's going on right now, even though it's not as fulfilling and it won't provide you the longevity and the consistency. It's indulgent right now, so you're feeling cool about it. But then you have this energy that's compelling you at the same time to consider the big picture, fulfillment on a consistent basis. It's tickling your mind, and it's causing you a great deal of confusion about what decision you need to make moving forward in your significant relationships, bonds, and unions, in what you desire and what will emotionally fulfill you consistently for a very, very long time. This is a beautiful new moon. It is going to be quite confusing. The new beginning probably is going to be deciphering what is realistic, because this new moon is going to be opposing in this grand mutable cross. It's going to be opposing Saturn. Saturn is the planet of controlling your outcome, of looking at a different perspective, of really honestly adventuring out to a new mindset. You could have been here for a very long time, very superficial. This is depth. So I believe that as you move forward, the new beginning is going to be really unearthing the depths of your potential instead of getting caught in all the superficial potential. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi dear Gemini, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the new moon that is going to be in your energy. So this will be your new moon. This is what I consider the start of officially of your year. Like when you get a new moon, it's a new beginning for that entire year. You are going to go off of this cycle for a very long time. It is going to be conjunct, well, for 12 months. It's going to be conjunct with Venus in Gemini. And this is all has to do with what you identify with, who you identify with, why you identify with these people. It has to do with moving away from karmic patterns that no longer serve you, healing old wounds, and identifying a new sense of self and empowering yourself and walking in a different direction than karmic cycles that no longer serve you. Your ruler is going to be involved in this aspect. So I know that I've got a lot of cards out here. This part of the spread is for the mutable Grand Cross energy because we have a dualistic energy. We have the mutable Grand Cross and we have a Grand Earth Trine. And then here's the Grand Earth Trine. So I'm just so happy to tell you that you're here. You're at the Grand Earth Trine. So you have been pulled in different directions and you're now to the point in your life where you are starting to firm up some of your wants and some of your needs, some of your desires, and identify with them and deeply identify with them on a level. So for you, a lot of this has to do with your home and family, the career, life path, destiny that you're going to choose. It has a lot to do with building strength, walking away from fear, walking away from your demons, and really identifying with a new sense of self. There is a little opposition, and that is because this new moon is going to be opposed by Mars and Scorpio. So for some of you, this is creating new routines on a daily basis that support this new sense of self. I believe that for many of us, we're split down the middle in this energy. We're no longer compelled to be as mutable as we are and as we were in the past. This is all past. Moving forward, we're going to be involved. We're going to be trying to solidify and ground our choices and firm up our foundations and add some structure to our day-to-day tasks and routines. Some of us will have some opposition with that during this event. Some Geminis, it's a challenge. It's not necessarily anything bad, but it can be a little bit challenging. One of the things that I find so compelling is that your ruler is going to be doing a lot of internal work, which is why I think that inevitably you end up very strong internally. Very strong internally, and in turn you're going to start to attract people in your life that respect your intuitive nature, your mental strength, and your physical strength, and you're going to gain some recognition for some of the work that you're going to put in. I also see that for you, I'm loving this energy because for a dualistic energy, it's very good for you to be able to always be in the middle of this dualistic energy. So for you, what could happen in this energy is there just could be some clarification between the light and the dark mindsets, and you're going to take control of it. Your intuition, you're just so elevated that your intuition is going to help you always stay on track. You're never going to veer off particularly bad in one direction or drastically in a different direction. I think you're going to take control of the duality, and you're going to be in the middle. Balance is going to be something that will come out of this energy. Jupiter in Virgo and the North Node in Virgo are at the top of the trine, and they are compelling you to move forward. And I believe that for some of you, this is going to be making decisions to invest in a home and family, like for real. This is going to be about buying a house, and actually building your identity in a home. This could be about moving and choosing a location where you start to settle your life down. I believe that for some of you, this has a lot to do with you starting a family, making the decision, okay, I've been, here, mutable, all over the place, having a good time, superficial long enough. I'm here where I'm ready to be this peaceful. And one of my most favorite cards of the entire deck is this card. And she's just so happy and so at peace. And the simple life is pleasing her. It's giving her what she both needs and she wants at the same time. This is a lovely new beginning. It's going to be a beautiful experience as you move forward. I think the new beginning for you is understanding yourself completely, identifying the extremes in your personality, and knowing when those extremes are starting to take you in an extreme direction. It's not about anymore living a life just directionless. It's about directing your life, but considering the extremes of yourself. So let's say that one day you just become restless and you get indulgent and you want to veer off the path. The other twin is going to be able to say, no, I remember when you did that in the past and this was the result. You're enlightened now. You know, what you're going to find out this year, I think this overall year, is that you're going to be very well aware of the benefits and the disadvantages of being a Gemini. And you're going to be very secure in who and what you identify with and why you identify with. And you're going to ground yourself. And you're not going to feel as restless in your life, like you're missing out on all of this fun, extreme energy. You know, over here, it's like there's, so many choices. You can't make a decision, like there's so much information, you can't make a decision because there's always something new coming in. You're stuck on this beliefs. Like there's just nothing over here that serves you anymore. And I believe that you're going to realize that. The new beginning is you're going to realize just how dualistic your nature has been and how you have been instrumental in the consequences in your life. And that you no longer wish to be that person, that extreme person anymore. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner. And I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Cancers. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner. And this is your energetic reading for the the new moon that is going to be happening in Gemini, which is going to be conjunct with Venus. This is a big deal to you. This is a very big deal to you because your new moon is going to be involved in a mutable Grand Cross. So you're going to be in this section. So we have the Grand Earth Trine here, and we have the mutable Grand Cross here. And so this is all going to be a very deep process for you. Extremes is something that you feel a great deal of tension and fear of. You do not do well in extremes. It makes you crack. You do not know how to keep it stable. It really evokes the emotional turbulence in a Cancer. So this Gemini energy has not been an easy energy because it seems like even if you're not extreme, there are extremes in the situations that are happening in your life that are causing you to be an emotional, tumultuous person. So what I see is that this new moon is going to oppose in this mutable Grand Cross Saturn. There are routines and rituals that you have got to put into play that reels this energy in. You're an extreme person as well, and I know that you don't like to identify yourself as extreme, but you're extreme. You're extreme for those around you, and you're extreme for yourself. When you spiral and this emotional wave hits you, it's very hard for you to calm that water and look at it from an enlightened perspective. So I believe that one of the things that you're going to do is to merge both the elevated mindset and the day-to-day mindset to support a lot more stability. But at first, you probably have to be pulled in by 4 different extremes in order for you to understand, I don't want any of those anymore. That sucks. It hurts. I don't feel good. And so I believe that for some of you, This is going to be a bit of a reality check. Again, what this does is it allows us to understand our limitations, the extremes in our limitations and our strengths. So yes, we're really strong, but there's always a consequence inevitably of absorbing that much energy. So what we're trying to do is to learn that perfect balance between being intuitive and being a healer and being a nurturer and being able to pull back and release it and let fate take its course. So I believe at the top of this, in this energy, at the very peak of this energy, I believe that Jupiter can expand things in your day-to-day lives that are not in balance. And it's going to be very difficult for you to face these, because what it's going to do is it's really going to ask you to change some of your rituals and your routines and your mindsets on a daily basis. This is or you're going to experience these extremes. And at the past, you have the knowledge right now, you have the knowledge to do this. And this has been a karmic path you have been on for a very long time. You have been walking down this road and you have the knowledge, but you, for some reason, refuse to acknowledge completely this karmic journey that you've been on. What I think it's very hard for you is to develop a sense of masculine energy. Masculine energy is our warrior. It's the ability to say no. It's the ability to fight when we've got to fight for things. Masculine energy easily compartmentalizes situations so that it can be task oriented. And I believe some of you are out of balance because this card's in reverse. During the 30-day cycle, what is going to become very clear to you is that you have had the power all along. All along, you have been the one with all the power to stabilize your emotional state, to solidify your foundation, to make your passionate pursuits actually happen. And you have had the knowledge all along, honey. It's just we need to go through this very extreme time sometimes to point us in that direction, to break us free of mindsets that are ingrained. I believe that in the past we just worked so deeply hard just to get recognition, just to get appreciation. We thought if we just did things and worked, and if we were the nurturer, we were everything to everybody, we thought that they would recognize us, but it just seemed like we were always sold a little bit short, and we never just got exactly what we should have received. I think, the past has a lot of significant burden. There's a lot of knowledge that we've attained over our past, and it's difficult to revisit, and we're going to be compelled to revisit this time of pain and this time of realization and this time of revelation, really. It's very hard for us to revisit the past. You kind of are one of those really past-based creatures, and it just seems like sometimes the past just consumes you with knowledge of disappointment, delay, postponement, pain, loss. Again, there is a pearl to be found beyond all energy, is your power to take control of your life, your power to really honestly control your thoughts, control your emotions, control who and what you invest in and what you're passionate about. You do not have to be guided. You do not have to become so mutable that you are compliant to people's BS. And in this energy, you are going to gain some enlightenment. And I believe that you're going to start to embrace this Earth Trine over here. There will be joy to be found from this 30-day cycle. A celebration, emotional fulfillment. Emotional fulfillment and what I believe from people that you deeply wanted to get that fulfillment from. But I believe that you're going to have to let go of the past. You're just carrying all this past and looking at the future, but you carry the burden from the past. You don't forgive, you don't forget. there's guilt, there's a lot of weight from the past. But if you want this beautiful, abundant life, you're going to have to drop all this. You're going to have to walk away and let all of that go moving forward, I believe. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner. I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hello, dear Leos. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the new moon that is going to be happening in Gemini, which is going to be conjunct with Venus. So we have a dualistic moon, so I made a dualistic spread. This side over here is the mutable Grand Cross, and this side right here is the Grand Earth Trine. And the reason I made two of these is because I believe that people are going to deeply identify with one energy or the other because we are in a dualistic energy source right now. So during this event, your energy, the sun, is going to be conjunct with Venus, and it is going to be involved with in a mutable Grand Cross. So you are going to be deeply compelled to go through this side of the spread. This will have everything to do with what you want and hope and dream and wish for at this time. It has a lot to do with recognition, your social circles that you are traveling in, what type of socializing you hope to attract in the near future. Very Gemini, very Venus as well. This new moon is going to directly oppose Saturn and Sagittarius. So for some of you, there is, in the past, I think some of you may have been foolhardy in the risks you took. In the future, much of your risks are going to need to be much more calculated. You're gonna need to. This is all about adding duty and structure to your life, but allowing you the freedom to still create. There's a dualistic mindset in even that, because it's like, how do you be creative? How do you express yourself in the state of some sort of a controlled environment? So for some of you, there's a little bit of duality there. I think for a lot of you, this has to do with what you deeply value most in your day-to-day life, in your routines, rituals, what compels those routines and rituals. And I believe that a lot of you need to make some changes. You need to get off the wheel. Many of you are repeating cycles that no longer serve you. There is a wound. There is a wound that you carry throughout your life. You're brought into the world with. And for you, this wound you need to address this wound. It needs to change. You need to change the way that you're dressing your wound. The type of healing that you're trying to do, not working. So it's time for a different type of healing, I believe, for many of you. And I believe that that has a lot to do with that card. And then I think that what's difficult about this energy is that there is some sort of fear that I feel that you associate with what's going on in your life. I'm going to give you, for instance, I fear how much work goes into making Annette's Astrology Corner an actual functional job. You know, it's very overwhelming, you know, because I'm working 40 hours a week and then I'm doing this. And this is my creative form of expression. This is where my heart lies, passion, everything. I get to teach, I get to do everything. But I really love what I'm doing right now. So there's my day-to-day tasks, my duties. I'm going to have to take care of something. And it's difficult because I think there's some sort of fear. There would be, like, let's say I just quit my job. The fear would be doing this permanently for a living and having it actually pay my bills. Like, that's a fear. That's a legitimate fear about my career success moving forward. Like, some of you may have that type of mindset that is in this energy because it has to do with something you hope and dream and wish for and desire on a very pleasure-based level, a simplistic level. So what's hard about this energy is you have to be realistic. You can't idealize anything when you're associating it with hope. And those seem to be a dualistic mindset right there, because how can you not idealize hope? Because hope is idealization. So, but I believe you're going to tie it deeply to what you value. what you hold dear, what's significant to you, what's been a consistent source of significant inspiration. I think that's going to come forth in all of this energy. The reason I say that is because of this card. The Magician card is so lovely in this mutable Grand Cross. I believe what this says to me is that you've had the power in your hand the whole time. I think it's been difficult for you to balance this world. What you're passionate about, what emotionally fulfills you, the duty, the responsibility, the actual work that goes in to making all of this happen, and knowledge. The knowledge is power. I believe that sometimes we just go foolhardy into something. I believe that there's a lot more research. You need more knowledge right now. What you want to pursue, you need more knowledge. You are basing it on a lot of artificial hopes and dreams, but the knowledge will be your savior in this energy, in this new moon experience. Your masculine nature can also stand in the way. This masculine energy to me just represents somebody who's headstrong, determined, but, you know, I'm also going to say that this looks a lot like Mars in Scorpio to me, and because this is an Aries card to me and Mars is in Scorpio. And so I believe that there's an intensity about recalling some sort of past situation where you were trying to move forward with maybe the same type of concept, and so you're resistant to it, or you're resistant to being, I mean, your energies are low. What you're passionate about, you're somewhat reserved right now. That doesn't really feel like you. I think it just, you feel a little off in this energy at first. But I believe, I guess, what comes out of this is this just beautiful clarifying moment in your life where you find out just how much power you've had in your life the entire time. And then I think moving forward, I think this is just such a gorgeous predictive card. This suggests to me that what you really are going to invest in is going to be this earth energy. And honey, that leads you into this beautiful earth trine over here. When you start to really get to this point in life, and I believe that it's when Cancer energy, when everything starts dumping into Cancer, what I believe is then you move into this type of energy, and that's where you get your Leo card. Leo card all in its beautiful strength and glorious energy. If you're investing in duty, responsibility, consistency, structure, if you are thinking about longevity, and if you are thinking about a stable outcome, and if you are not working in an extreme at all, then you are going to be blessed enough to transition into this Grand Earth Trine. You will be able to have the enlightenment to consider all aspects. Pros and cons are going to be very relevant to you. That then elevates your perspective significantly, and it makes you not as indulgent and ego-oriented. You know, it makes you much more realistic about your expectations about moving forward. It's a beautiful, beautiful energy. You're going to have to consider your losses as equally as much as you consider what you profited on. And this could be on a knowledgeable level. This could be on an emotional level. This could be even on a spiritual level. And you have to be a very good person in this energy, humble, enlightened. This isn't about just getting what you want and giving you the money that you want and the status that you want and the career perspective and the hopes and the dreams you want. This is about overall being a very well-rounded person. And that's what I believe that some of you during this extreme environment are going to learn, what meeting in the middle, how powerful that can be. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next Astrological event. Dear Virgo, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the new moon that is going to be in Gemini. Now, your ruler is going to be involved in a beautiful Grand Earth Trine during this new moon. This new moon is going to be conjunct with Venus. So you are going to be thinking about your career life, destiny. More importantly, you're going to be deeply trying to identify what you want moving forward. What do you want to invest in? What do you identify with? I believe that this is you're looking at this from a very enlightened point of view. Definitely this card comes to mind when I think of you. It is in reverse right now. And that's because the awakening is happening. The ideas are pouring in, and everything is starting to make a little bit more sense in this energy. So you're involved in the Grand Earth Trine. Over here is the mutable Grand Cross. We have two very different energies in place during this dualistic new moon. So over here is the mutable Grand Cross, and over here is the Grand Earth Trine, and you're definitely in this part of the spread. So one thing that I love about this energy is that you are changing your karmic path. You have been doing a lot of introspection, and you've been doing a lot of work on looking at things from a dualistic point of view. And in that process, you have been intuitively guided to walk on a certain path in your life. And I believe that some of you are deeply compelled. You have an appreciation for these extremes. You really don't want to be here. And you really just want to, but you want to always keep these in your mind as you're moving forward, because you understand that it can go extremely one way or extremely other. And you are intuitively being guided in the middle of all of this energy. One of the things that I love about this is Lady Justice. I really identify with her in the Grand Earth Trine. She's balanced. She's really embracing, balancing out your mindset. This is you represented here. You're very feminine in this energy. And that's not to say that some of you who are masculine can't embrace the feminine mindset. The feminine mindset is really just the earth energy. And to me, what that represents is, just creating a happy home, a good structure, identifying with your earth energy, really honestly getting in touch with nurturing yourself as well as others. It's very compassionate energy. She's also very balanced, very level-headed when she's moving forward. And in turn, you get this beautiful growth experience. She's one of my most favorite cards, but she does represent an earth energy in a feminine mindset. She just feels very secure, very grounded. She's really loving the simple things in life. She's abundant, but she's really caught up in just the simple life right now. Very appreciative. I really love her. But as you can see, the spread just gets more and more lovely as you're involved in this Earth Trine. And then, of course, honey, you get some amazing strength from this new moon. This new moon empowers you, empowers your mind. And in turn, you just start to attract people that admire your strength, admire your internal strength as well as your external strength. I mean, you compel really strong people like you. You're not attracting people that you got to constantly put back together, which can be a Virgo trait. This is a very elevating time for you. As I said, we have the Hanged Man right above the Strength card. So to me, you're still working on empowering yourself to get to here. You will, through this 30-day cycle, do very well with that. You're not going to be overly indulgent. Your ego is not going to be what is motivating you. Look at me, affirmation. Really, you're just going to be deeply compelled to just have some sort of balanced mindset. It's a beautiful, lovely new moon for you. The only advice that I could give you is that Mars is going to be in Scorpio. It's in retrograde. And so, to me, be very mindful and compassionate to those that have lost. Maybe you gained something and they lost something. Or maybe you've gained enlightenment and they're still working on theirs. Just be compassionate. It's a very intense time. Not everybody gets to have this beautiful, glorious Earth trine. And so we really need to be, very, very mindful that some people are going through this experience over here. They're not as blessed to get, this gorgeous, gorgeous new beginning in Gemini energy. Remember, the Gemini energy has a dualistic process to it. So two things could come to you easily in this energy, two opportunities or two types of partners, or just two types of situations that can equally please you. And I think what you may find is that considering both sides, and they could be extreme. Those two opportunities could be extremely different. I believe that intuitively, let your intuition guide you as to the choice that you need to make. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next Astrological Living. Hi, dear Libras. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the new moon that is going to be conjunct with Venus. Now, today, this experience is going to be quite the experience. I'm not going to lie, because here's what's happening. You're being enlightened. Your mind is being opened up to receive in this energy. And anytime that happens, an extreme inevitably pushes you to that point of expansion. So you are caught in the mutable Grand Cross. This energy over here is the mutable Grand Cross. This energy right here is this is actually supposed to be in reverse. So this energy over here represents the mutable Grand Cross, and this one represents the Grand Earth Trine, and you are definitely here. The new moon, which is conjunct with Venus, is going to be in a grand mutable cross. And so this is an extreme energy, pulling you in 4 different directions, maybe giving you 4 drastically different options. This is a big mental journey for you. This is where you define what you receive mentally from your situations, the bountiful harvest that you receive. Meaning, are you energetically connecting to your purpose and attracting the people in your life that enhance that purpose, or that you can that you can have a very good conversation with, or that intellectually stimulates you, or is the type of people in your life, your significant bonds, your unions, your partnerships, are those really supporting an expansion mindset, or are you somehow stuck with these people in their limiting mindsets? Are you complying? If you're complying, the extremes are going to push you. This energy is going to push you to extremes to break you free of complying with this. So there are going to be a lot of obstacles. There's going to be a lot of stressful situations in all of these areas, trying to get you to look at the big picture, what you need, what you want, what you deserve from this situation. So your ruler, which is conjunct with the new moon, is going to directly oppose Saturn, which means on a day-to-day level, it's not supporting this expansive mindset. On a day-to-day level, you're selling yourself short, I guess is what I want to say. And so I think that for some of you, what's going to expand is just displeasure on the inside. You're going to expand internally. Your thoughts are going to be erratic, or you're going to be restless, or you're going to be bored, because you know what? You're not being intellectually engaged by something or someone, by your job maybe, or by your day-to-day life, or by your home and family. Like, something in there is suffocating potential. And I think you need to kind of decipher that, and this energy is going to pull that apart. So I believe that some of you definitely have the knowledge that something is going on. Like, I think that you're not only intuitively guided, but you have the knowledge that, wow, this really isn't going my way. You're not feeling like the intellectual support is there. In turn, this is making you very masculine. This energy, the Grand Earth Trine, is very feminine in nature. This energy is very masculine in nature. It's a very dualistic new moon because the Gemini is the twin. So this masculine energy is making you want to fight. It's making you want to defend. But then Mars is in Scorpio, which is in retrograde, which in turn makes you feel like you're not being understood. There's some sort of manipulative aspect to this masculine energy that's in your life. Masculine energy is very difficult when it can't, like right now I don't feel like you can compartmentalize what's going on. Because if this masculine energy were straight up, you would be embracing what masculine energy represents to me. When it's in this position, you can't compartmentalize. You can't fight this situation. You don't feel like you have control of this situation. And it's just off-putting, extremely off-putting, and it's making you very angry and you just don't like it. Now, as you go through the 30-day cycle, what you're going to figure out, hun, is that you had the power all along in your hand to change the situation. And that you have got to take a look at this from an elevated level. This is where you're elevating your mindset. When you get to this point, when the energy starts dumping into Cancer, you're going to get some sort of elevated perspective. You're going to understand that you were always at the helm of your ship. You were always ruling it. But I think it was very easy to get confused because there was so much past reflection involved in moving forward. And there was a lot of fear and a lot of people on their own karmic paths getting lost in their journeys. And you were having to be subjected to that, some of you. So I believe what this just represents to me is that, you're going to consider emotional fulfillment as important as you consider stability, as important as you consider what you're passionate about, as important as what you consider that really intellectually stimulates you. You've had the power all the time. And as you go through this 30-day cycle, you are going to figure out how to solve this situation or how to resolve it, or at least how to stabilize it, how to not make it as extreme as it is. And in turn, I believe what's going to happen is that you're going to start to deeply identify with this earth energy right here. And the action that you take moving forward will be conditionable upon the realization of this earth-bound energy. So what I think is an important in this aspect is down here. It seems like you have a lot of options. I don't think any of them are particularly emotionally stimulating. And there's one significant one really right before you, but I think that you're confusing it right now with a lot of this past disappointment or lack of emotional motivation. I think as we go through this cycle, as we start to look at all of this painful realization, this new moon is going to be about a realization for many. It's going to be the realization that I have the knowledge, that I've learned all these lessons over a very long karmic journey, and I have the power to change that. I have the power because I have all this wisdom. But I think initially at first it's just going to be off-putting. It's going to be defensive. It's going to be irritating for you to have to feel this. It's going to make you feel restless. It's going to make you feel unappreciated. And I think as you move forward, I think what you're going to realize, and even though it's not as abundant as the past may have been, or you may have idealized it was going to be, here's really what is moving forward all about. It's a very simplistic, abundant, simple life filled with very simple things. And I believe what this is doing is it's trying to add simplicity to our lives to a certain degree. And I think that if you just look directly above, then we start to walk away from all of these emotional, unfulfilling situations. And we start to become much more independent and enlightened in our own mind and satisfied with our own thoughts and satisfied with our own affirmation. We don't need all of this attention to feel like we're empowered, because we honestly are going towards something that we desire as much as we're emotionally motivated, but we're being intuitively guided in a different direction. And so you will walk away from all of this emotional instability. And then I think in turn, that leads to, you're going to be emotionally fulfilled by some of the people that I think are very significant to you, some of your closest personal bonds and relationships. But understand that before all of this happens, we have to be pulled in 4 different directions. We've got to feel these extremes. We've got to endure this extreme lifestyle for a while so that we can appreciate the simple things. Because sometimes when you get caught up in Gemini energy and then it's conjunct with Venus, when the sun is conjunct with Venus, it's like we get really caught up in thinking that we deserve everything and we get caught up in superficial desires, but we're not looking at the long term, this glorious Earth Trine, where if you really looked at the Earth Trine, if you really were to understand it, it's very simple. It's very balanced. It's very, there's a lot of strength internally, and you start to attract stuff because you're making very stable choices, and people are always compelled to be guided by stable people. Instability is not something that people respect, because they don't want it in their lives intuitively, so they're guided toward these really strong, wise people. It's a difficult journey. I think one of the most difficult journeys you're going to find is that your home and family situation has to be stabilized for you to feel grounded. And I think part of the problem is that maybe somebody has been drinking and they're pushing you to drink, or maybe the partying lifestyle has got out of hand. And somebody doesn't want to let go of it in your life. I feel like there's an extreme in the way that somebody copes in your environment, and then in turn it impacts you, and you're just getting sick of it, and you just want to be the masculine energy and take control and stop all of the bullshit. And you want to, but there's just this, somehow you will find the power, you will find the strength, you will get the clarity on how to turn the situation around, but at first you're going to feel these extremes. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi guys, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the full moon that is going to be happening, I keep saying the new moon that is going to be happening in Gemini, which is conjunct with Venus. Now, this is a very dualistic moon, and I think you're going to have a very dualistic mindset. Now, I do want to explain what I've got going on here. This is the mutable grand cross, and this is the Grand Earth Trine. We have two different extremes in energy during this Gemini new moon. And then, of course, the new moon is, of course, dualistic as well. So we definitely have a couple energies to talk about. One of the things that's very significant at this time is that you have 2 rulers, and your 2 rulers are having very different experiences on this dualistic new moon. So your one ruler is in retrograde, and that's what you're deeply identifying with, I think, at this time. And then you have Pluto, which is this beautiful, beautiful Grand Earth Trine. And I've been telling you guys, please kind of stay away from the Mars mindset and definitely go toward this beautiful Grand Earth Trine. Now, this is an extreme time for you because you have one of your rulers in retrograde, and so it is intensifying the need to make a change in something. It could have something to do with your closest, unions, bonds, and relationships, and it could have something to do with the past and this karmic journey that you've been on for a very, very long time. And I think it's time. I know that you're deeply identifying with that journey, and you're ready to kind of not be the hamster on the wheel anymore, and you're very I think, intuitively compelled to move away from that karmic journey. And then you have Pluto here. Pluto is in a quincunx with the new moon and in a quincunx with Venus, but it's involved in a grand Earth Trine at the same time. So let's talk a little bit about what it's like to have Pluto in a quincunx with the new moon. Now, a quincunx is a very difficult energy. It's just opposition. You know, a lot of astrologers don't really identify. It's kind of like a new astrology to identify a quincunx. It's considered, I think, a soft aspect. But I actually feel a quincunx much stronger than I feel a square or an opposition. It is definitely a difficult energy to deal with. So this is going to be a difficult new moon. One of the things that is difficult is that you are being asked to change something that you do not want to change. And I think it has a lot to do with how deeply, intensely you feel about this particular issue. One of the things I think is very difficult about this situation is when we have Pluto in a quincunx with the new moon. There's an extreme element to this, you know. There's something that you're not in control of, or there's something that's unstable about your environment or your foundation or your structure. This could be something that is, of course, in your day-to-day thoughts, in your day-to-day environment. It has something to do with what happens in your world on a day-to-day level. And so there's a change that's deeply necessary at this time. And I think that there's some sense of extremes to this situation as well. And this extremes, you're not a fan of extremes. You're a fan of people not intensifying you. And I believe that this situation can be very deeply felt on an intense level. So here's one of the things I find extraordinary about this situation. You are in the Grand Earth Trine, but it is quincunxing the new moon, which is involved in a mutable grand cross. So to me, there's an extreme going on. It's pulling you in different directions, but you're deeply compelled to be in this Grand Earth Trine. So you want to solidify your foundation. You like structure. You have a balanced mindset. There's something that you are very, very enlightened that I believe outside influences are not in your environment. And so this is pulling you in a bit of an extreme because you are being deeply compelled to help somebody else maybe solidify their foundation or to add structure, or maybe you're guiding people. Maybe it's a father in your life you're not getting along with. They have a different perspective about you want to live your life this way. Maybe this father in your life or this authority figure in your life does not agree with some of the choices that you're going to make moving forward. They believe that they're too extreme. They believe that they are wise, that they should be giving you this advice. And maybe you're just frustrated because you feel enlightened. You feel that you finally understand where you need to move forward with. You're being accepted in social circles. You're expanding in the right way, you feel. And I believe that this in turn is making you have a very hopeful mindset. You're taking some risks that are kind of exciting. But I think that there's like some person kind of weighing down these choices and weighing down these obligations. And I think it's just, it's causing a lot of instability that way. I believe this is much more external instability than it is internal instability. I believe that for many of you, you're highly internally stable and enlightened in this energy. So let's talk about the Earth Trine. This would be Mars and Capricorn energy, which is in retrograde. So I love that you guys have been working through your past. The past is equally as important as the present to you, but there's this stability. You're in charge of where your thoughts are going now about the past and the future. When you looked back and you reflected on your past, you, I think, realized that that's the old sense of self. That's the old karmic journey you've been on. And you've gained wisdom and knowledge, and you're ready to consider the past is equally as important as a future when making decisions moving forward, because intuitively, I think you've learned to rely on the new path that you're choosing. I mean, you're being guided and it's at an elevated level. So I believe that for some of you, you're in charge. You're taking control of your destiny. You're moving in a different direction. And I think you're feeling really powerful about the direction that you're moving in. You have a really balanced perspective, and you're really, really embracing your feminine energy. And when you're embracing this feminine energy and Pluto in Capricorn is a very masculine energy, there's a balance between, I believe, between feminine and masculine energy that you're embracing, which means that you can take control, you can compartmentalize, and you can provide stability, masculine energy, but you can nurture and love and be, intuitively guided, and you can solidify your foundation for family members. I mean, you're really a nurturer in this energy. You're both equally. That's the dualistic side of this energy of you. You're both masculine and feminine in this energy, very equally, and it's very trine. It's a very easy transition between those energies. I love that you have the Queen of Pentacles here, and she's really embracing the simple part of life. Mercury is in Taurus, and if you see, I always think of this card as a Taurus card, the feminine side of a Taurus energy. And Mercury is in Taurus, so the way that you're thinking, you feel very rich in your life. You feel very fulfilled. It's really filled your thoughts up with a lot of positive changes that you want to make. I think you're feeling very optimistic in this energy. Again, I think what pulls you into that quincunx is just external negativity about situations that you're trying to empower in your own life. And then I believe you're getting a lot of strength. And I believe that you will turn everybody around. You will get everybody to support you. It could be an authority figure or a manager or or it could be a father, it could be somebody significant, but they're going to start to see you as an empowered, enlightened person, very strong, very determined, but very balanced. Like intuitively, I think they're going to be guided toward you, your point of view on this particular subject. You've got to be mindful that you do not let Uranus and Aries energy start to come forth. Now, what happens when... This is an Aries card to me. Of course, this is the Ram. And then, of course, what rules Aries is Mars and Scorpio. And then, of course, Mars energy, and Mars is in Scorpio right now in retrograde. So it can make you combative. It can make you bring back the past. It can make you strike blows in a very passive way. Hey, you made these poor decisions and you're trying to judge my outcome. Like there could be an extreme in... You know what, if you want me to pull this stuff out, because I'm deeply identified with where I'm going in my life, let's talk about your life. Like you could feel like that in this energy as you're frustrated. He's not in a good place. So he's over here involved in the mutable Grand Cross. So whatever you do, don't let this authority figure, very dominant, masculine energy, this manager or this father figure, whatever it is, don't let this person suck you into their mutable Grand Cross, because they're here, you're here, and you can play here. You're dualistic in this energy. You can play. You want to play, let's play. But I would say don't. Stay in the Grand Earth Trine. Don't let Uranus and Aries energy pull you into this situation and where you're judging others' routines and you're throwing it in their face and you're trying to micromanage their crap because they're coming down on you. So let's play. You will pull out that stinger if you have to, but this isn't about pulling out the stinger. We have to realize that everybody is caught in some sort of extreme right now. And if people project when they're in extremes, so just be mindful that you guard your Earth Trine energy. You stay here because you could easily duel out in this energy and go to the opposite extreme and whip out your stinger. I really would like to stay in the high form of vibration all the time, and I believe that people try to ruin and try to suck you dry from your high vibration, and you just can't let them. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next Astrological event. Sagittarius. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the new moon that is going to be in Gemini, conjunct with Venus and Gemini. Talk about dualistic energy. You are in the mother of dualistic energy. First of all, you are a dualistic energy. And your ruler is involved in both dualistic energies. So let's talk about this. This side over here, I have the mutable Grand Cross, and over here I have the Grand Earth Trine. We have two very different energies involved in this Grand Earth Trine. Involved in this new moon in Gemini that's conjunct with Venus and Gemini. So Gemini energy is dualistic. Then we have two energies that are conjunct each other. Then we have of course, your two energies, and then we have your ruler right now in a dualistic energy. So you are involved in both the Grand Mutable Cross and the Grand Earth Trine in this energy. So this is something to be very respectful of. One of the areas that this can deeply impact is your relationships. Depending on what type of relationship you're in is probably going to depend on what type of energy you connect with during this this new beginning, this new moon. If you are involved in a very healthy and loving relationship, you are going to be the Grand Earth Trine. If you are involved in a relationship that is causing you to be dualistic in some way, or it's not meeting your needs and your wants, or it's not intellectually stimulating you as much as it is grounding you. Like if there is something dualistic about this energy that you do not respond with as a whole, you could get sucked here. So this new moon that's going to be in Gemini, it's going to be conjunct with Venus and Gemini, and it's going to be conjunct with the North Node. So your ruler conjunct with the North Node means whatever this has to do with you moving forward on a new journey, the correct path that you're going to move forward on. Your ruler is squaring off with this new moon, and it's squaring off with Venus, and it's squaring off with Saturn. So you are resisting a situation that you're being compelled to take a look at it. It's past-based. It's a karmic cycle you've been on for some time. You're resistant to making this change because of the extreme that it will cause in your life. I believe that it'll cause you to extremely change something one way or another, and I don't believe that you want to do either one of those. So I believe that there's going to be opposition with you. Now, the extremes are this. We have this very masculine, mutable Grand Cross, and we have this very feminine Grand Earth Trine. Masculine energy he is not happy with this. He's not happy with this big change. He's not happy with the extremes. He wants control over a situation. And he's probably used to getting control, absolute control in his life. And what he may not be used to in this Grand Mutable Cross is that other people are going to be equals in this energy. It's not going to be, I'm the king of the hill and everybody follow along with me. I'm the one in control of everything. No, it's moving forward. We're going to embrace a feminine type energy, type mindset. So the feminine mindset would be, let's nurture what's love. Let's consider all. Let's take a look. Let's build everything on a firm foundation. It's very, the structure is very sound. Over here, it's unstable because there's resistance. Over in the mutable Grand Cross, you're being pulled in lots of different directions. Some of them could be what you idealize about your family, your home life. You've been idealizing something that I don't think is very realistic. And you're having to base a partnership on realism. And I believe that sucks because you really want to just idealize away reality. And the reality is you can't do that. The new moon is going to be opposing Saturn, teaching you that lesson. And a relationship is going to absolutely signify where you need to change. Relationships are our mirrors. So if you are out of balance, you are attracting a relationship right now that is not in balance in this mutable Grand Cross because your energy is not at peace. there's a block. There is something that you are holding on to from your past that you need to release moving forward. You also have to stay very realistic about your commitments on all levels, meaning it's very difficult. These are, in this mutable Grand Cross, all elements are exposed. Your emotions, your thoughts, your ideas, and, what you're passionate about. And that's a lot. It's too much sometimes for people. Too much sometimes for people to understand the direction to go when there's 4 different directions that things are going in. So then you have this Grand Earth Trine. And if you're involved in this glorious, harmonious flow of energy, then you're really embracing a Libran type mindset. You're really embracing balance, consistency, longevity, pros and cons. You're really taking a look at what's right for everybody as a whole. You're looking at being dutiful and responsible. You're really embracing that knowledge is power and it can stabilize this situation. And you're really willing to talk things through and to litigate a decision in this energy. You're really balanced, intuitively being guided to consider both extremes. Both extremes right now are very important to what you're going to be intuitively, that path you're going to go down with the rest of your life. This extreme, you are going to get control of, because intuition will supersede the extremes in this energy. And again, you're going to have the knowledge to support this what you're being intuitively guided to. And then you have this beautiful Queen of Pentacles. She's just sitting here. She feels very rich in her life, very satisfied, very happy. It's very simple what she wants, but yet it lavishly gives her everything she desires from this very simple seed that she's going to plant during this new moon. And then, of course, from that comes tremendous internal strength and external reward. Because you will attract relationships that are strong and content, just like you are, with ease. If you are involved in the Grand Earth Trine, again, you're not going to be self-indulgent, expect everything to emotionally fulfill you, but not really caring about anybody else. You're enlightened in this energy, and I believe the awakening is happening. This is your card for me. Normally, if it was like this, I feel like you would have learned. A lot of you intuitively would know what you need to do. But in here, I believe that the light is coming on. You're being intuitively guided. There's an awakening. There's a rich amount of energy around the crown chakra right now. It's just important that we consider this card. I think on either one of them, it's a very special card. Look, it's easy to pass judgment on our significant bonds and unions. And it's easy to tell them what to do, but not fix ourselves, not fix what our problem is. It's easy for us to defend our point of view, but not consider other people's, what they're passionate, what their points of view is, what they need, what they desire. And I believe that a lot of clarity comes from considering all aspects of that. I mean, if you were to be very real with this energy, the grand mutable cross, the dualistic nature of it provides some beautiful knowledge, as well as the Earth Trine, because this could make you somewhat complacent if it was very decadent. But you have this extreme energy, keeping it kind of riled up and interesting and a little bit debatable and a little bit energizing and a little bit, it just picks your brain a little bit better. I mean, you have a little fun with this energy. But let's not get judgmental or combative, because everybody is being torn in multiple different directions, and very rarely are they going to be exposed to this gorgeous trine just quite the same way you are. So don't judge, is I think what I'm trying to say. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Capricorns. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the new moon in Gemini that is going to be conjunct with Venus and Gemini. Now, this is a complicated spread, so let me give you an idea of what I'm doing. Over here, we have the mutable Grand Cross, and over here, we have the Grand Earth Trine. We have two very significantly, very drastically different energies at the time of this new moon. Of course, the new moon is in Gemini, conjunct with Venus in Gemini, which is dualistic in itself. But we definitely have some extremes in energy to talk about. For you, you're going to be involved in the mutable grand cross. Your ruler is, because it's conjunct this new moon. So this is a very significant new moon for you. There's a lot of energy pointing you and taking a look at the direction of your routines, your rituals, your mindsets, your physical health, your mental health, your work, the rituals at work. You're really looking at all of those things on a very elevated level. And part of the questions I think that you're starting to have with yourself is, how much does being dutiful and responsible, how much is it paying off in my life? I mean, are there things I'm missing out on because I am so engaged in the duty and the responsibilities in my life that I am not involved in enough pleasurable moments in my partner's life, pleasurable moments in my significant bonds and unions, pleasurable moments ever. Like, I'm too busy. And so for some of you, you're going to be reevaluating that during this new moon. Now, of course, you're going to be pulled mentally in 4 different directions during this time. This is a very mental new moon for you. The new beginning is going to be, of course, merging all of this instability and creating some consistent plans for the future about how to solidify this situation. One of the things that I think is most significant for you is that we have the elevated mind working with the lower mind. And when we have the elevated mind working with the lower mind, there's an extreme in that environment, right? We have the elevated experience, the elevated perspective, the knowledge and the wisdom that we've attained over quite a significant amount of time. And then we have our day-to-day environment that is giving us input as well. And merging those two can be somewhat difficult, especially if they're involved in opposing energies. So what I'm trying to say is, making sense out of energy that makes sense right now is going to be extremely difficult, because you're going to be compelled to do that, because right now it seems like there is something on your mind that you need to solve. Like, there's a problem you need to solve, and it's a big one. And it's going to affect your unions, your significant bonds, your workplace. It's going to affect those for a long time coming. So one of the things that is very difficult about this new moon is it's going to be opposing Saturn, which you have been working diligently with Saturn to gain some new perspective. I think you've been doing a lot of work on this, and I think I've seen you. Every Capricorn I know, I've noticed a big change in them, in their mindsets. I think they're opening up. It's been difficult. There's some resistance. There's some need to control that always inevitably follows some of these thought processes. But that's just an innate response. That's just a habitual response to when you're evolving. But I believe that for some of you, it's just your day-to-day life seems to be getting so out of control that you're not able to look at the big picture. So Jupiter's expanding the area in your life that really needs you to look at the big picture. Like, you really need to see the big picture right now in something. It's very important. So let's talk about the dualistic energy that's at play. We have this mutable grand cross, and we have this Grand Earth Trine. The mutable grand cross, which is what you're involved in, is a very masculine energy. To me, this represents a very feminine energy. Once, the grand cross just represents like a dualistic type mindset, really nurturing and solidifying your foundation. And I think solidifying yourself, like really taking care of yourself, nurturing self is very important in this energy. Balance is super important when you're in this Grand Earth Trine. But I think what's hard is you're not involved in that. You're involved in this masculine energy. So this represents a very masculine energy, not in control, not feeling particularly empowered in his life right now. He's very unhappy, and he needs to figure it out. And and there are so many things pulling him in different directions, and he just wishes that he could control all of it, because if he can control it, he could really solve this problem on a big scale. So there's a need to solve something. Now, what's difficult is that people aren't listening. You have a message to give and they're not listening. You have knowledge and wisdom to give. They're not listening. And in the past, they didn't listen either. So it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating for you to move forward with this. Now, as we move forward through this 30-day cycle and as we go through this Grand Earth Trine, mutable Grand Cross that's going to be throughout much of June, what you realize on a very elevated level is that you've always had the power. You've always had the right perspective. You are not wrong. But sometimes it's probably your delivery. Every Capricorn I know comes off with a certain amount of intensity that I think puts people off. And it's a very dominant, masculine, controlling nature. If you could somehow get to the point to where you could communicate on a level that considers what people are passionate about, their emotional component to, like, you have to learn how to communicate to people on many different levels. You can't communicate with everybody on your level because you're just domineering and controlling that way. So you have to consider, some people are very passionate, some people are very emotional, some people are very grounded and like a kind of like a more laid back approach to communication, and some people deeply identify with facts and figures and wisdom. And so whomever you're communicating with, I think you're going to get through to them throughout this cycle. But I think what you need to be mindful of is you need to be mindful of the fact that this does not at some point consume your day-to-day thoughts, like your day-to-day peace. Like, you need to stay in balance, because again, even though I know your ruler is not involved in this Earth Trine can be your salvation. It can be your peace. I would like to say that as you're communicating, please just consider the feminine side of your nature, because that's the Grand Earth Trine and it's the most harmonious flow of energy this month. Consider the dualistic concept, the pros and cons, or look at things from two different perspectives, which I think is going to be super important because, of course, we have a lot of third house work going on at the same time we have ninth house work going on. So that's elevated mind and the lower environment, the lower day-to-day task mind, like our dutiful mind. So, and you will intuitively be driven if you are really trying to reroute this energy and really attach to the most positive form of energy, which is this Grand Earth Trine here. If you just let your intuition guide you through these extremes, really, really listen to your intuition is about the only salvation that I can give you. Balance will save the day. Extremes will make it a mutable Grand Cross. So be very mindful that when you're trying to make a decision or help people make a decision, and all they can do is look at all these emotional disappointments, and you're trying to give them this tremendous opportunity, this tremendous idea, and they're looking back, be loving, compassionate, and patient, because they probably are caught here right along with you, caught in this mutable Grand Cross. Now, the thing is I'm really being guided to say to you, please let your intuition guide you through this new moon experience, but more importantly, through this entire experience, because I deeply feel compelled that you are going to guide somebody. And that's if you do it right. If you do it wrong, you're going to have one hell of a month having difficult conversations and never being understood and being pulled in different directions because nobody seems to freaking understand what you're saying, and it's just a bunch of drama. But if you really, really listen to me, really looking at things from their perspective, even if it's not as elevated as your perspective, can really help this situation smooth out. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, Aquarius, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the new moon that is going to be happening in Aquarius. Now, this is a crazy new moon, because this new moon is going to be conjunct with Gemini, with Venus and Gemini, and it's already a dualistic energy. Not only is it already a dualistic energy, but it's also, there are two drastically different energies that are going to be at play during this new moon. We have the mutable Grand Cross and we have the Grand Earth Trine. So they're extremely different. They motivate us in two extremely different ways. Unfortunately, your ruler is going to be involved in this grand mutable crossover here. So let's talk about that. All right, so the new moon is going to oppose, which is going to be conjunct Venus, it's going to oppose Saturn. So you are going to oppose Saturn. So there is a past situation that involves something that I think you either hoped that you would have a different outcome, you maybe dreamed for a different outcome, you maybe idealized a different outcome. I believe that some of you had an expectation involving a certain social group or some sort of organization that you started to become involved with, or something like that I just don't think went the way that you had idealized it to go. And so there's an extreme to the situation right now. There's two ways to look at the situation, and it's the past and the present. And I believe that it's very dualistic in nature for you, because I believe that you're bringing forth a lot of the past into the present mindset. And I believe that, a lot has changed. There's a certain amount of risk that I feel like you don't want to take. I don't think it's fear. I just think that you've had the knowledge of so much disappointment, and you have the knowledge of the fact that you've tried it before and it just hasn't worked out. So there's just that unwillingness to do it again. And I think you're kind of stuck somewhere in the past right now, reliving this moment over and over again, not ready to move forward to walk through to that new destination that I think you're being compelled to do at this time. So I think what's difficult is Saturn and Neptune at this time, your ruler, is in an almost exact square. So it's time to reassess what you value, what you hope for. When we reassess what we value, the first thing that comes to mind is you've got to idealize it a little bit, I guess. Keep it realistic, because Saturn will kick your ass. But what you value could mean family. Let's say that you value family at this time. But in order to make a commitment to family, you've got to do something different in your career, and you're resisting that need to change something because there was a really hopeful mindset that you had based on that career that you were choosing. But in order to make a commitment to family, you're going to have to make some changes to your career, because it doesn't support the attention that you're going to have to pay to family. So let's say that's one of those contingencies, but you value family and you value your career equally the same. So the extreme could be, I value this still, but I know I need to move forward. And there's a value in doing either one of those things, but you're still being compelled to consider two different directions equally. And it's very frustrating because it's extreme. Another thing about a mutable Grand Cross that's very difficult is it's extreme in its own way, because it's pulling you in four different directions, and that's very frustrating. You're a very directional person. Every single Aquarius I've ever known is a very forward thinker. So this past BS, you're not a fan of. You're not a fan of let's just move on. But there is something, for some reason, you keep revisiting a past mindset. It's something that you deeply valued and idealized. So it's something you are having a very difficult time letting go of, when you know that intuitively you're being guided to do so. I believe that this situation, if you do not address it, Jupiter is going to go in and expand this issue, and this is going to start to impact your day-to-day life. So this change, you need to make this change. You need to make a commitment to this change. And there needs to be some daily discipline that's involved in making this change that you're being guided to do. And again, if you don't take control of this square, this opposition with with Jupiter, Saturn and Jupiter are squaring each other. There is definitely you need to make a change. So it could mean you need to make a change in a social group or a social setting that you're in, or maybe on social media. Maybe you need to make, to start to get sometimes we can do the simplest little thing. So I'm going to give you, for instance, sometimes changing your status on Facebook changes your mindset. So for some of you that are resistant to say that you're in a relationship, let's say, sometimes just changing that simple status on Facebook to reflect that you're currently in a relationship changes the status in your head as well, because it's recognized by the external world. You kind of internally recognize it. That's one tiny for instance, but that's giving you an idea of what I'm talking about. So for some of you, what's very difficult during this time is that Uranus, your other ruler, is going to be squaring off with Pluto. So this is Uranus in Aries. It's a very dominant, masculine energy. This also, sometimes when I see it, represents Pluto and Capricorn to me. So it's squared. It's uncomfortable. It's in opposition. It is reverse. And it's not happy. There's something you want to control, something you need to dominate, something that is not going in the direction that you hoped it to do, and you are frustrated, you are angry, resentful comes to mind in this energy. Now, what's frustrating is that you have all the knowledge. Something you're saying is not being received in the way that it needs to be received. You feel frustrated. You're not being understood. This happens with a lot of Aquariuses. They're really, honestly, some of the most misunderstood people I have ever had the pleasure of meeting, because I sometimes think it's your delivery. I don't even think it's sometimes that we can't understand you. I just think that sometimes you're just such a dominant energy, an overbearing energy, that it can come off wrong. So the beauty is, as we go through this mutable Grand Cross experience in the month of June, we get to this point where we've had the power all along. But we need to be enlightened on how to resolve the situation. It's an internal process. This isn't like we have to internally grow and receive to be able to externalize effectively. And so I think that in this energy, what you find out is you have an epiphany, you have an awakening. There is a time in this 30-day cycle, and I believe that it has a lot to do with when all the energy starts dropping into Cancer. I believe that that's when you get what you understand what feels good, what feels appropriate, what you're being intuitively guided, what's abundant feeling. One of the things that you're going to do in this energy, because of these 4 different elements, we're considering 4 elements at the time of this beautiful experience. Now, all 4 of these elements in this mutable Grand Cross are being pulled in 4 different directions, but you will merge these. See, what happens in a mutable Grand Cross is that we are forced into extremes to merge those 4 different extremes into one mindset. And so that's what you do. The epiphany happens, and then intuitively you're guided to make the next decision. You are going to be, I think, considering the emotional ramification, how passionate you are, the knowledge that supports making this decision at this time, and then, the stability, the consistency, the longevity of this mindset. It's an epiphany moment. Definitely this month it comes to you. And then I think as you move forward, honey, you start to simplify this mindset. And it really boils down to, I want to move forward with this. And it's this simple. And I'm ready to give, but also to receive in this energy. So this is, I believe that you step away from karmic cycles that no longer serve you. It's something you've resisted. I think there was definitely a fear associated with making this absolute decision. And I believe what it was an internal fear. I don't believe that it was an external fear. I believe that this is something that you have to make this commitment to wholeheartedly on every level. And I don't believe that you've been able to make that commitment because there's some sort of past situation that, you know, you've been compelled to revisit throughout this reflective cycle, which has been very, very difficult. We need to move toward a mindset like much more like this. This is a very compelling card to me. When we make this change, it's more an intuitive change. It considers what we desire as well as what we emotionally respond, what will emotionally motivate us. And I believe that what we do is we don't need this much attention or this much stimuli or this much, we don't need that many options. We can honestly just walk on. We can be on our own journey and we can be very, very happy in our own mindset because intuitively we're being guided to make a choice of one of these. And I believe that that's a lot about what the base of this reading was about in the past. It's like, I think you were just scared to make that final choice because you know what? There's this really amazing, wonderful opportunity right before you, but you're clinging to something, you're clinging to options. And this feels very bound, and it's a definite decision that you make. I think moving forward, not right now, but definitely moving forward as you go through the 30-day cycle. Just to let you know, you get a very abundant energy from doing that. You get recognized and you get a very rich and fulfilling recognition from doing so. And then I believe, honey, it starts to put you in this Grand Earth Trine's mindset where it's all about balance and stability. And it's all about peace, internal strength, attracting external opportunities that support this strengthening time for you. It's a very, I think you simplify what you want and you desire moving forward, and it's a rich and an abundant feeling, but I believe that it has everything to do with the simplistic nature of the seed that you plant during this new moon. It's a beautiful experience. It does have the possibility to bring forth extremes on every element. So you've got to consider, we're talking air, fire, water, and earth. I don't know what I can do. And when you consider that many parts in your life, it does pull you in so many different directions. How do you know where to dump your energy into when there's so much being asked of you at one time? And so that can feel very frustrating for a fixed energy source that really just wants to go in and save the day and take care of everything and you know, deal with it. Be mindful of fear, of losing control, dominating your need to dominate others, to feel like you need to be this strong, controlling, masculine energy. You're not going to come off well. If you're too overbearing and you're too intense, you're going to come off wrong. It's not advisable. And you're coming off this way because you're fearful of something. You're not in a powerful state of mind. You would be more in a powerful state of mind if you had responded on every level to that same situation. So anyhow, thank you guys so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi dear Pisces, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the new moon that is going to be happening in Gemini, which is going to be conjunct with Venus. So this is a lot of confusing cards. So let's talk about all this energy that I got out here because I have a lot. So over here we have the mutable Grand Cross, and over here I have the Grand Earth Trine. During this new moon, we have two very different energies at play, so that would stand to reason that we have a dualistic type new moon. It can go one of two drastically different ways. Your ruler is involved in the mutable Grand Cross energy. So your ruler is squaring the new moon and squaring Venus. So there is a home and family situation. Perhaps you're trying to make a decision on where you're living, or where you want to buy a house, or where you want to, you know, add some structure and some foundation, like where you really want to create that, you want to plant your seed, like you're really trying to make a decision right now. And it's really frustrating because life is pulling you in many different directions. And all of these directions, I think, have some level of disappointment, or at least some level of confusion, that it's making it very hard for somebody who is dualistic by nature anyway to make any kind of decision, because when you're pulled in so many different directions, what you just do is you just don't even want to freaking make a decision. So all of this will help you define. So like some of the questions that are coming up is, where do I live so that I can, and at the same time, you're thinking, my career, life path, destiny is equally as important to me. But you're trying to define that path, that where you're going to move forward in your life, like that destined, fated path that you want to walk on. And so sometimes that can cause some conflict with like where you're going to live, because let's say you're an actor, you know, you want to be an actor, and, you know, you live in the Midwest, and, you know, let's face it, you got to live in California and New York to be an actor. So you've got to make that decision to make that move. And that's very scary. That comes to mind, but it could be as simple as, you know, for many of you, it's time to venture forth and move out on your own. And so you're trying to make a decision to do that. And, you know, you're trying to please everybody else, but you're trying to walk on your own path because you're feeling compelled to like take a leap of faith, and you're identifying with your new sense of self, and you're identifying your path, and you're identifying what you need moving forward, but you're trying to still be that people pleaser for some of you. So you have a lot at play, but it can pull you in many different directions. It can be very frustrating. Now, the Grand Mutable Cross is definitely a masculine-based energy to me, and the Mutable Grand, the Grand Earth Trine is a feminine energy to me. That's the way that I deeply feel them. So your ruler, I think what's hard is you're doing a lot of work on trying to identify what you want, and you're trying to identify what you align with, and you're trying to identify with what you hope for, and you're trying to identify significant partnerships and unions that support you. So you have a lot going on in your life, and you know, you have a lot that you're trying to get control of. And I feel like in this energy, there's a very dominant and controlling maybe figure in your life that really doesn't allow you to express yourself in the way that you feel compelled or guided to. Or maybe this comes from the past. I mean, this new moon is squaring Saturn, which Saturn is, opposing Saturn, which is squaring your ruler. So in the past, maybe some of you could have had a very overbearing or dominant male masculine energy in your life that maybe controlled you and dominated you in such a way that I don't believe that you truly trust what you're being intuitively guided to do. Or maybe you're getting a lot of slack from like, you know, a masculine energy in your life. Or maybe you're getting a lot of guidance from somebody that I don't think really truly identifies with your path. And they're very dominant. They're a very masculine in nature. Like, I feel like this masculine energy is really trying to dominate and control the situation. And I don't believe that that's deeply compelling for you, because I believe what's happening is these are the big areas in your life. It's in your relationships, your partners, and your unions. It's in where you live. This could be also the internal structure and foundation within your spiritual home, like your actual body that you encompass, like how well that's like structured. Like, do you identify with the way you look, or do you identify with the way that you, the internal strength or the external strength that you exhibit? This also can do with, you know, the career, life path, destiny. You're considering very big parts, and they're pulling you in all different directions. So you can see how difficult it would be to maintain any sort of consistency when it's all of the biggest things in your life pulling you, asking you to make the same decision at the same time. So I think you're trying to get advice. And maybe some of the advice that you're getting right now, you don't really identify with, or because, you know, they envision your life differently than you do. And so it's coming off like, wow, they don't really even understand me at this point. One of the things I think is beautiful is if we move through this 30-day cycle, we get to the point to where we have this lovely card, and we get it. We have the power. We have the power to make our decision. We are being pulled in so many different directions that it defines us entirely. We identify what the situation is and where we need to make that first decision because of these extremes. And it's a very intuitively guided time in your life. You will consider how you emotionally respond to this issue, how stable it can, what's the payoff, you know, does it provide you with a stable environment, consistency, longevity? But you've got to be passionate about it, and you've got to, you know, the knowledge that you've received in your life so far, your karmic path that you've been on for so long, has got to support this intuitively guided mindset. So we have to have this extreme conversation for all of June. June is a very extreme month. When we drop into Cancer energy, honey, you're going to start to align a little bit better with that Earth Trine I've been talking about. And you're going to simplify what you want. It's going to be, I'm going to make, see, so the problem is, and I have this problem because I have a dualistic rising sign, is that sometimes I want everything at the same time, and I don't even know what to invest in because I don't even know where to start. So sometimes we just need to get to that starting point, that initial seed we plant, that one idea that we plant, and then it really drastically turns everything around and puts it in the right direction. I think many of us at this point, we need to leave the past behind because, look, there's a lot of confusing knowledge when we start to be reflective. But really, honestly, if we're just considering our future, it's very clear what we need to do, but we're being confused by the past and the burden that the past, you know, we really felt deeply burdened by our past. Some of the things that we were passionate about that we couldn't make them follow through no matter how hard we worked. So this isn't a deeply intuitive time. It is very, I think what we figure out is it's an intuitive time. I think initially we start out making it a logical time. And then I think, and then as we move forward, I think we find out it's an intuitive time. We've got all these options, but we don't need that anymore because we definitely can rely on our intuition, because what we desire and what's emotionally motivating us will show us the light moving forward. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event.